Davis.
Here.
Senator Higdon.
Here.
Senator Perrin.
Here.
Senator Rhodes.
Here.
Senator Wilson.
Yes, they are.
Here.
No one in any of the literature that I've seen, that I've written, has said anything about taking away phone service. No one has said about losing home phones, and no one certainly has said that we have suggested that AT&T intends not to provide voice service. Let me make a distinction, because it's an important distinction. Right now, under Kentucky law, basic home phone service, basic local exchange service, which is 911, which is 411, which is operator assistance, which is the ability to interconnect with other carriers, which is unlimited local phone dialing without additional charge beyond the basic charge. When everything else was deregulated in 2006, the General Assembly wisely determined that that basic home phone service was a right that people needed. It was something that needed to be protected, and you did so. Everything else, including the rates for local service, are now deregulated. What is not deregulated is the obligation that incumbent utilities who have elected to deregulate, and that is AT&T, Windstream, and Cincy Bell, that they provide on a standalone basis those home phone service components, and they do so under a quality of service obligation that is enforced by the Public Service Commission. This bill does several things. One, it asks you to approve the relief of AT&T, Windstream, and Cincinnati Bell from meeting quality of service requirements for basic local exchange service. No longer would the Public Service Commission have regulatory jurisdiction to assure that the service is provided, that repairs are fixed within a certain period of time. There's no assurance that the highly reliable service that's now provided would continue to be highly reliable. That is a fact. That is not an assumption. That's not an opinion. I will show you the chapter and verse. The second is, the question is, should standalone basic service continue to be required to be provided by these incumbent utilities who profited for many decades under a regulatory environment where they were guaranteed a monopoly over local service in return for an obligation to serve everyone, the so-called universal service obligation. This bill will end that obligation in exchanges that are over 5,000 households immediately. There will be no obligation to continue to provide standalone basic phone service. They can't abandon physically the network without federal approval, although AT&T has asked the Federal Communications Commission to allow them to sunset the copper wire network, and they have a petition pending to do so. So when they tell you it'll continue to be there, not if they get the FCC to allow them to abandon that network completely. What they could do under this bill, immediately for everybody except the smaller exchanges, is to say we are no longer offering basic phone service on a standalone basis. And if you want to continue to get this service, you will buy a package. And that package may include things that you cannot afford or things that you don't need. For the smaller exchanges, it has been stated that there's a protection in this bill. What's remarkable is this bill is actually less protective of consumers. And I would have been hard-pressed to write one that is less protective of consumers than Senate Bill 12 and Senate Bill 135 from the last session. And I can go into that detail if the committee wants me to. The third question is, should AT&T, Windstream, and Cincinnati Bell be allowed to substitute, quote, voice service